Okay, so we're back. Any further discussion on item 8 regarding the Bloom-Shapiro proposal? Okay. If not, I'm going to ask for a motion to authorize the expenditure of $36,400 from Committed to Technology Fund that we just created for land use, the Land Use Technology Efficiency Assessment by Bloom-Shapiro as recommended by the Board of Selectmen.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I think it's a great idea. I mean, I'm at the risk of stating the obvious. We generate most of our revenue in this town from land.
Right.
And to the extent that we can make the process of developing that land more efficient and more, easier for the rest of the world to understand and use, it's only going to benefit the town, particularly as we discovered in the last reval that our grand list went down. So I think it's a great idea.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, I completely agree. I couldn't say it better. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you very much for your consideration. And would you give me a moment of personal privilege, please?
Personal? Sure.
Yes, personal privilege.
Yes.
For as many years as I can remember, the clerk to this board, Tracy Brinkman, has been giving up her evenings during the year. This time she brought her young daughter, Kayla, with her. So Kayla, welcome to the Board of Finance. I'm sure everyone here welcomes you here. And thank you for having shared your mother with us all those many years.
Many, many years, yes.
Now you get to see what she does when she's out at these meetings.
She's thrilled. You have a device and you're fine,
say,
right?
speaking of technology, thankfully she's got technology to keep her occupied.
Okay, item number 9. Discuss and take possible action. I want to make sure I get it right. On 2017-2018 budget transfers as outlined by the finance director. Okay, so we have another memo. Same two from date with budget transfers. As previously discussed and anticipated, the budgets for debt retirement, interest, and revaluation are over budget in the current fiscal year. The debt budget is overdue due to budgeted use of premiums set aside in fund balance to offset this year's expense. The revaluation budget is overdue to monies set aside in fund balance, a lot of reading tonight, fund balance over the past 5 years to cover the cost of this year's revaluation project. At this time, all debt payments have been made and the revaluation is expected to be completed by June 30th. I am requesting that the following transfers be made to cover the anticipated June 30th, 2018 overages. $735,672 to 00151-58662 reduction premium refunding from fund balance assigned to the Guilford High School financing, and $40,408 to 00196-57601 revaluation from fund balance committed to revaluation. Thank you for your consideration. So
Back to page 45.
here we are again, page 45 of our audit, in case you want to follow along. These are numbers that have actually, that are, as mentioned, we have assigned to, we have a fund balance for GHS financing. I want to make sure I read the number right here. $867,736.
Right, of which we don't need all of it for this
Right.
year.
So we're going to, so the request is to take $735,672 out of that and basically reassign it to GHS financing. And again, this is something we were prepared for. And then on the $40,408 from reval, we have a committed to revaluation, and the general fund number is $40,408. So we're just going to take that and we're going to put it into revaluation. So it's a reallocation of the numbers, but we're not going to need all of the GHS financing. So
No, that was how much we used in the current year's budget to help offset the increase in the debt. We would hope to continue to use the balance of monies in there, plus anything else we can add to it, right, to mitigate over the next couple of years when we still have some spikes.
So these were anticipated, and these are just reallocations. But we need to approve them to do that.
Correct.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Anything further for discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We added a 9A, just because we want to put the mill rate off as far as possible on the agenda,
Hey,
sorry.
she started at 8 o'clock this morning.
I know. Hopefully she took. So 9A, we added at the beginning of the meeting, consider and take possible action on a request from the Board of Selectmen with regard to capital plan purchases. So we received this this evening from this morning from our first selectman regarding actions of the April 16th meeting. At its meeting this morning, voted unanimously to award bid number 10-1718, Town Hall elevator and fire alarm upgrades to Augustine Builders for $98,000. Pursuant to the language of the $2,785,000 bond resolution approved on April 18th of 2017, our board must make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen in order to expend funds and or contract the services based on approved authorization of the 2-year funding of the town's 5-year capital plan. Should we do this? We could do it. Maybe we should just do it all. All at once, right? Just read them all. Okay. Now, you know what? I'd rather do it separately. So, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Board of Selectmen voted unanimously to approve negotiated salary transfers for fiscal year 2017-2018 as outlined by the Finance Director and recommended to the Board of Finance. We've already approved that, so we're set on that. Voted unanimously to establish a new line item
You already did it?
in the general fund. Okay, so that's all set. And we did the last one. Okay.
You're good.
Well, when I get the memo, this is the first time I read it, I thought there was more. Now, next, well,
Megan was trying to cover you.
I was trying to give you the hint to just do it all at once. All dead.
Thanks, Meg. And then we may have another one coming up, but that could be a special meeting, but we'll talk about that. That's regarding the community center roof. Okay. Hey, guess what? We're at item number 10 now. Consider and take appropriate action on fiscal year 2018-19 budget. Basically, this is setting the mill rate. Usually we have a special meeting after the budget referendum, but because our regular meeting fell within the time frame, we were able to do this. So, how I will address this is that we, when we approved the budget, and when we figured out what the mill rate was, there was a projected mill rate of 31.30. And since then, a couple of things have happened, and I think what we'll need to do is probably should have a motion first, or approval first, of a change regarding some discussion we had. I was not at the workshop on March 12th, but I know there was quite a bit of discussion about the interest income line being raised. And I think there was a little bit of uncomfort. Well, I saw the tape, so I know there was uncomfortability about raising the number at that time. After some time has progressed, I would like to make a recommendation based on quite a bit of discussion and confidence of the interest income being raised from $80,000 to $150,000. So that's an increase of $70,000. So. Why don't we take that as I'd like to entertain that as in a form of motion.
So moved for purposes, I can't. Seconding for purposes of discussion.
Okay. Any further discussion regarding that? And the only thing I would say is I believe that there is quite a bit of confidence in that. And Mary Jane, yep. Okay, go ahead.
For the audience, that
Yep.
you're not changing the budget.
No, this
You're
is just
only-
a revenue item.
You're only looking at different
Thank you.
numbers to help you with your mill rate. The budget will remain as is.
Right.
It was approved by the taxpayers. That's how it will remain.
Right. So the budget stays as is. This is just a revenue line that we're going to increase to help bring the mill rate down.
We're not actually changing it. We are anticipating.
We're-
We're anticipating an additional $70,000. Mike, you weren't at the meeting, but you read the meeting minutes. At that at that meeting, it had been suggested that we could do, in previous meetings, that our interest income line was lower than could be affected by a variety of means. In particular, Ken McKenzie has suggested using some long-term T-bills to maximize our return in our investment interest income. I was comfortable, Mary Jane and I were comfortable that evening by saying we could almost double it to go to 150,000 based on some very preliminary cash flow analyses. Contrary to some stated positions, we don't have $45 million to invest at any one time for 3 months, because you just approved about $7 million worth of bills this month, so we can't really lock up that entire amount. So and short of an analysis, a detailed analysis that had been discussed with several members of your board, we're comfortable going to another 70,000 and making it 150,000. So I'm not sure you necessarily have to adjust that. I think that's the rationale for you guys adjusting the mill rate downward to reflect the impact of $70,000 in additional revenue. And that was part of our discussion at the last budget workshop meeting.
Great. Thank you for the clarification.
That's because of short-term
No,
availability.
the long-term. We would be able to invest some in some long-term T-bills, which clearly fall within the parameters of safe harbors for investments for municipal governments.
I'm looking at a staggered approach to our investments, longer, different 9, 6, 3-month options that over time should be able to bring that. We're already at 90,000 this year.
Yeah, that was
So,
my comment, is that we've already hit the target, so
right.
And
I think it's very
Easily
prudent.
obtainable.
Right, I think it's prudent.
right, and in the current market environment, it wouldn't surprise me at all if the Fed didn't raise rates in the near term. So that number could get better.
When there was a time, it's not too long ago, there was a time interest income was,
Nothing.
It was,
$800,000.
I was going to say $500,000, but yeah, you could go even over that.
Yeah, but your mortgage was pretty expensive because the interest rates were
Understood.
10,
Yeah.
I'd just like to
11%.
say one more
So-
time, especially for the viewing audience, all of our money is making money at this time.
Right.
We're already receiving as interest, as we were saying. Our goal is to just compound that a little bit and with some longer term options, but all of taxpayer money is currently invested and making money.
And
Good point.
the obvious question, the investment policy that
Oh,
was
yeah, I was-
presented last month. Okay.
I was going to bring that up under old
That is
business.
currently being vetted by in-house and outside counsel. And it might surprise you to know that the preliminary read is that policy will belong to you guys. That will be a Board of Finance policy. All right. We would greatly appreciate the input. In fact, we're already doing that by doing the research for you and getting the appropriate legal opinions. So.
Thank you.
And you're confident with the extra 70? Yeah. Okay.
Any further discussion? As the motion is still on the table. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so I'll see if I get this part right, to set the mill rate. So on April 2nd, there was an adjustment in the grand list. It very, very slight, went down by close to $2 million. So nominal. When you take that number and you put it into the charts that we have developed, what ends up happening is that there was a budgeted amount of, or assessment adjustment from the Board of Assessment Appeals that was $500,000. That was adjusted to be the actual amount that is now currently known for the appeals of $1,874,160. There was a $2 million amount for court settlements that was an estimate as an adjustment, and that has now been brought down to $1 million. When all is said and done, there's an assessment amount that when you take the assessed amount and you divided amongst the amount to be raised by taxes, it comes up to 31.28. So it's a .02 drop in the mill rate based on, really, it's the grand list net that has now been projected as far as April 2nd, along with estimates.
Along with the extra 70 we put in for.
Along with the extra 70 that we put in, that I was going to say also. Yeah.
So what is the new mill rate?
So the mill rate
Recommendation?
would be 31.28.
31.28.
That's with the extra revenue.
That is with the extra revenue, and that is with the grand list change that was out as of April 2nd.
Right, those are the adjustments made by the Board of Assessment
Right.
Appeals.
You may remember that our charts were saying before Board of a Tax Appeal, now it's after Board of Tax Appeal. But there are still estimated amounts that we have to, that are not resolved yet. So you still have to estimate. So with that being said, right now we're looking at setting the mill rate at 31.28 for fiscal year 18-19.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I knew you were going to be looking
Why is that? Okay. Number 11, committee reports. I do not believe we have any. Number 12, old business. I was going to bring up the investment policy, but we've already done that. Number 13, new business. Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was 2 weeks ago, the Board of Selectmen appointed a subcommittee to explore a revision to the building fees. We have, it has come to our attention from builders, from a couple of builders, an architect, and some other folks in general, that our building fees are substantially behind those of our neighboring communities and other communities in terms of structure and fees. So Lou Federici has agreed to chair a small subcommittee, and Sandy Ruoff will also participate in that committee. And I was looking for a volunteer from this board to work with them as we go about evaluating a more up-to-date structure for building fees. It is something that I think is long overdue, and it also it fits in with what we're looking to do with the whole land use departments. And there will be a component of this that would include potentially some software that would allow us to consistently apply building fees based on value, as opposed to just pulling straight permits. Interestingly enough, I've had conversations with a couple of contractors who say they can't believe they've gotten away with it as long as they have in Guilford. And my concern to them was, well, what's the impact to the consumer? He said, just like every other town, we pass them along to the customers. So I'd be looking for someone to participate in that committee. I already have pulled from CCM comparable data or data or structure from other towns, what they do with building fees, and there are surrounding towns as well as towns in our ERG or DERG or whatever we call it, like socioeconomic profiles and also like population centers. So that data is available for will be available for review and comparison in the development of potential change in our building fees. So you don't have to all jump up and volunteer now, but I'll leave it to your consideration.
Fantastic.
Good. Thank you.
They'll get in touch with me, and
That's it.
Lou will be in touch.
Lou will.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything else under new business? Public forum? We outlasted them. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your indulgence and also for agreeing with several initiatives.